Hello, and welcome to my channel, where I mostly share my love of fragrance and enjoying my collection. In this video, I'll be reviewing Jo Malone's Mallow on the Moor perfume from the new 2023 Brit Collection. Thank you so much for stopping by, and let's get started. Jo Malone has released their 2023 Brit Collection, which is themed around the beauty of the Scottish Highlands. Last year, they had the wild swimming theme for their Brit Collection, and I did a review of some of those scents and will link that video in the description box if you want to check that out. Here's what this year's bottle on the left looks like versus last year's bottle on the right from the Brit Collections. There are 4 scents in this year's Highlands collection, and they are all limited edition. I only picked up one of the scents because the notes for the others didn't sound like the type of fragrances that I thought I would enjoy. The scents that I didn't pick up are Melancholy Thistle, which has notes of thistle, English ivy, and cool wood. And this looks like an aromatic woody scent, and I don't usually care for scents with ivy as it's just too green and herbal for me. They also noted that the cool wood note is supposed to replicate the smell of moss on whetstone. The next one is Highland Heather, which has notes of cypress, heather, and amber. And heather is a purple flower that grows in Scotland, and this scent looks like it's supposed to be aromatic as well, but also very floral. I was tempted to try this one because the heather sounds interesting, but I really don't tend to like cypress, so I decided to pass. And the last one is Wild Achillea, which is a repromote of a scent that was previously released in the Wildflowers and Weeds collection under the name Nettle and Wild Achillea. And this has notes of neroli, water lily, and white musk. And it looks like another green scent with the nettle, which is an herbal plant. If I was going to pick up a second scent, it might have been this one, since it seems like it may be more citrus-focused versus green. As far as packaging, I have to say that the bottles in this collection are really pretty. They come in the standard Jo Malone bottle shape, but there's an added floral design on the glass that seems to be sort of a painted applique. All of the scents only come in 1-ounce bottles and retail for $82 US. Now we'll get onto the scent that I did pick up, which is Mallow on the Moor. And Jo Malone officially lists a top note of violet leaf, a mid note of mallow, and a base note of heliotrope. But their description also mentions orris and oak, and that the smoky sweet oak is supposed to represent the earthy texture of the moors. And when I first sprayed this, I have to say that I wasn't really thrilled. The violet leaf is all I get in the opening, and it's quite green. I prefer the violet flower over the leaf, and this is definitely violet leaf. Luckily, the opening is very brief, and as the other notes come in, the scent begins to turn more floral and powdery, as it also begins to sweeten. The mallow note in the scent is supposed to represent purple mallow flowers, which are soft and powdery, and in the species of plant that inspired the name for marshmallows. From my research, it seems there are various types of mallow, including musk mallow, which is also known as ambrette, and they share similar qualities. I have many perfumes with musk mallow, but I don't remember having any with the plain mallow note that's listed in this one. I really like the combination of the mallow, heliotrope, and orris in this fragrance, all of which seem to contribute to the powdery quality. Between the orris and violet leaf, there is a hint of violet in the scent as well. And as the scent dries, I get a soft woodiness, but I think that the mallow really is the star here. To me, this is a soft, powdery floral, and there is a nice amount of powdery sweetness without smelling gourmand or sugary like a marshmallow. I'm not getting a soapy or lipsticky quality from the powder, and would say this is more powdery than floral feeling. I personally really like powdery scents, so I enjoy this fragrance a lot. But if you don't care for powdery florals, this scent is definitely not for you. As far as projection and longevity for this scent, it seemed typical for Jo Malone. Keep in mind, these are colognes, which are typically not as strong as eau de parfums. I got a nice 4.5 hours of wear before I wanted to top up, but that was with a light spray. I'm not traditionally an oversprayer, and I always tend to wear my perfumes pretty softly. I wanted to share a few comparisons, but note that I couldn't find anything in my collection with a very similar composition of notes. So none of these are going to be exact dupes for Mallow on the Moor, and most of them don't have the greenness from the violet leaf in the opening. First up is Scarlet Poppy, also from Jo Malone. And this has ambrette or muskmallow, orris, and heliotrope notes like Mallow on the Moor, but also has fig and tonka bean. It's a powdery floral that has an almondy quality from the heliotrope. And while these share the powdery floral quality, I don't get as much nuttiness in Mallow on the Moor, and Scarlet Poppy has more of a vanillic sweetness. Next I have Sweet from Ellis, Brooklyn. And this also has notes of muskmallow, orris, and heliotrope, in addition to pear, violet, marshmallow, and cashmerean. And this has a similar powdery floral sweetness, but also has some fruitiness and a brightness to it. Sweet is also much sweeter than Mallow on the Moor, and does have more of a gourmand feeling due to the actual marshmallow note. Then I have God is a Woman from Ariana Grande, and this has muskmallow and orris, but also has pear, Turkish rose, vanilla, and sandalwood. And this is somewhat similar to Ellis Brooklyn Sweet, but in comparison to Mallow on the Moor, it's much more pear heavy and less powdery. The sweetness in God is a Woman is also more syrupy and frankly a little bit cloying to me. Next I have Irresistible Eau de Parfum from Givenchy. And this only shares the mallow note, and here it's muskmallow, and this also has pear, rose, iris, and musk. So these have very different notes, but the mallow is quite prominent in this scent, and it has a sweet, almost bubblegummy quality. Irresistible does have noticeable rose and musk, and is sweeter and less powdery than Mallow on the Moor. And lastly, I have the Fantasy Intimate Edition from Britney Spears. And this is the least similar to Mallow on the Moor, but I wanted to share it as the opening has a very similar green-violet leaf, and the dry down also has a powdery heliotrope. This scent doesn't have mallow though, and instead has brown sugar and benzoin. Fantasy Intimate is overall sweeter and less powdery than Mallow on the Moor. So that's it for my review of the new Jo Malone Mallow on the Moor from the 2023 Brit Collection. I didn't have high hopes for this scent, as the entire Highlands collection seemed like it was focused on green or herbaceous scents, which aren't really the type of fragrances that I tend to like. So I am pleasantly surprised to find that I really do like Mallow on the Moor. While I don't care for the very brief opening, which is quite green, I think it's mostly a really pretty and soft powdery floral. I usually seem to like scents that have mallow in them, and I like that this one has a good amount of sweetness without veering into gourmand territory. Due to the sweetness and powderiness, it doesn't feel overly floral either. Let me know what you think of Mallow on the Moor and if you're going to give it a try, or if you have any thoughts on the other scents in the Highlands collection. Remember that these are limited edition scents, so you'll want to pick them up sooner rather than later. Thank you for watching. I hope that you'll subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.